Good morning. Today we are continuing with Unit 5. We are doing CO37. I can interpret and write mathematical and algebraic expressions with multiplication and division. So it's very similar to yesterday's objective. Yesterday we did adding and subtracting. Today we're doing the same thing but with multiplying and dividing. So just like yesterday, we need to know which words stand for multiplying and which words stand for dividing. So let's fill in our table. Just like with yesterday's, you can put this table on your help sheet when it's time for the test. They will help us know which operation we should be writing out for our expression. What are some words that we could use for multiplication? Connor, what's one? Times. What is another word? Come on now. Multiply. Who knows another one? Zelda.
Multiplied.
Well, multiply, multiplied. One's present, one's past. Connor? Groups of. So if we're going to find groups of, that means we are multiplying it together. Another word, just like we had for adding, we had the total, subtraction, we had the difference. For multiplication, we are finding the product. So if you're finding the product of something, you are multiplying. Another word that we used when we were working on percentages, when we had 15% of 80, what word stood for multiplying? Lauren? Of. So when you see something like 15% of 80, that of, remember, means we are multiplying 15% and 80. All right, now let's look at our division. What are some words for division? Connor. Divide. Or we could say divided by. A number divided by. What's another word? Come on up. Quotient. Just like we had adding is the sum or total. So the sum. Dividing is the difference. Multiplying is the quotient, is the answer. With dividing, multiplying is the product, is your answer. With dividing, quotient is the answer. So if you want to find the quotient, you want to divide the two numbers. Our last one we're going to write on here. For multiplying, if we're putting them 7 groups of n, means we're multiplying. But if we divide it into groups of, so like down here, divided into groups of, don't just see that groups of and think you're multiplying. This says divided into groups of. They were placed into groups of. So if they're going into groups, we're dividing it down. But here, if we have 7 groups of n, we're multiplying up. So be looking, if it has that word into, we're going down into those small groups. So let's look. It says write the following phrases as mathematical expressions. Let's look at our first one. 2 times a number. What would that expression look like? What do you think, Melanie? 2 times n. Now, if we're going into big kid math, we are going to working with variables. We're going to take out that multiplication symbol, and we can just write 2n. because when something is right in front of a variable, we just automatically know that it means we're multiplying. If something is right in front of parentheses, we know, since it's right there, it means we multiply. If it's right in front of a variable, we know it means to multiply. If on the test you put the multiplication symbol, it will not be wrong. Just know that we are going to start seeing things without the multiplication symbol, like with the parentheses and the variables. It means that we multiply it. So it's 2 times n, even though there's not the multiplication symbol there. So either answer will be correct. Our next one, the quotient of 18 and a number. What would that look like? Melanie?
18 divided by n.
So you could do 18 divided by n. If I were to write this as a fraction, what would it look like? Zelda?
18 over n.
18 over n. Because remember, that fraction bar means we are dividing. So if you put the 2 dots there, that's the division symbol. So it would be 18 divided by n. We talked a lot about this with our last unit. When we have that fraction bar, it means on your calculator, you put the top number in, divided by the bottom number. Let's do one more together. 7 groups of n. Jimena.
7 times n.
7 times n. So you could write 7n. You could write 7 times n. Starting to get in the habit of understanding that when that multiplication symbol is not present, we just know that it means to multiply. I'm going to erase so I can scroll up. The rest of that section is your work time. Now it says write each mathematical expression as a verbal phrase in 2 ways. So we have lots of different words we could use for dividing and different words we can use for multiplying. So you're going to write 2 different ways using our verbal phrase, so the words. So look at this first one. How would I put that into words? Zelda.
You could do 25 into groups of n.
So I wouldn't just say into, I would say divided into groups of, now remember, we're not just saying n, we're going to say of a number. So that would be one way. What would be another way that I could write that same expression? What are some different words I could use? Connor, what do you think? The quotient of 25 and a number. So for each one of these, you want to write 2 different ways, 2 different verbal phrases. Keeping in mind this very last one is a fraction bar. So are we multiplying or dividing? Dividing. So remember that fraction bar means we divide the top by the bottom. On the bottom, it says determine whether you would multiply or divide in the given situation. So it doesn't have those words from our table, but I want you to read it and work it through logically. Are you multiplying up? Is the number going to get bigger? Or are you dividing down into a smaller number? So if we are doubling your allowance, if you double something, are you getting bigger or smaller? Layla? Bigger. So would we multiply or divide? Yeah, because when we get bigger, we are multiplying. So you would just write multiply. If as you read it, you're getting down smaller, you would divide. If as you read it, when you're getting bigger, you would multiply. So you're just writing multiply or divide, but really thinking about what that phrase is telling you to do. This is just a one pager today. When you are finished with today's assignment, remember, Khan Academy is due on Thursday. Work on your Khan Academy assignments. Math packet is due next week, Tuesday. So if you turn it in to me by Friday, I will correct it and you can make corrections on it before next week. I know that there were a few in the tray. I will be correcting those while you are working. The math packet video is on the YouTube channel, so you can watch that video again as you're going through those pages. Remember, Friday is a retake day, so if you have more practice work to do for retakes, work on the practice work. We have time for me to work one-on-one with people if you have questions on practice work for the retakes for Friday. Let's try to be very useful, not quite the word I want, but be very productive in your math work time today. Khan Academy, math packet, practice work. You are working quietly. If you have questions for a friend, you whisper because people want to be able to concentrate. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well. I hope to see you soon. Come to me if you have any questions on any of the assignments that are due. Have a wonderful day.